welcome to my sewing room. The theme for the show today is using those wonderful embroidery machines in combination with some hand embellishment. Now some of you might say, well, you know, I haven't got one of those machines yet, and that's okay too. But why would you want one of those wonderful machines? Well, I'll tell you. Now, how many of you right there sitting there in your living room or sewing room, how many of you have too much time on your hands? Well, I didn't see a single hand go up. So I'm going to be willing to guess that time is something that you don't have a whole lot of. Let me share with you some ways to make some beautiful things when you don't have any time. This is a beautiful, actually this is a bath cloth with a machine embroidered bee on it and a little bit of hand silk ribbon, a few hand silk ribbon roses added. This is a machine embroidered heart with the beautiful pink and green machine embroidery, and then just a few silk ribbon roses by hand scattered throughout. I think you're going to just die when you see this vest. It is so fabulous. The basis of the embroidery on this vest is machine embroidery. And then wonderful roses have been made with wired ribbons and beautiful machine embroidery, and actually this may be machine silk ribbon embroidery. Look how silk ribbon machine embroidery has been used on the inside. This vest is completely reversible and has magnificent machine embroidery. Let me turn it around and let you see the back of this truly unbelievable vest. Another application for machine embroidery with hand embellishment is on this beautiful velveteen cape. A lot of machine embroidery makes the vines on the cape, and then just a little bit of hand embroidery finishes up the beautiful details. This ladies' vest, and we've had so much fun on this series because we're doing lots of ladies' vests. This beautiful ladies' vest has a machine embroidered, it's a little birdhouse and a watering pail and a pansy, and then it has hand embroidery that finishes up, or rather goes around and trims that. Absolutely adorable. This very beautiful heirloom sewing dress, and you think, well now surely you wouldn't put machine embroidery on a dress like that. Yes, I would. Beautiful machine embroidery with hand silk ribbon embroidery in the middle goes down the front of this magnificent dress. And now come on over to the technique boards and let me share some ideas with you. A wonderful way to use wonderful machine embroidery stitches is to use the machine embroidery for your vines and then to add some hand flowers. Here is a little stitch that's available on many machines, this type of stitch. Then we have gone ahead and put a little pink silk ribbon rose by hand right there. And then we added a wonderful lazy daisy leaf also in silk ribbon. Moving over to another type of stitch, this is the little green leaf stitch. Now we have taken the silk ribbon and run it up and over to make a long stitch. That's going to be a pink flower in just a minute. And then here is the pink. We've gone back and done a couple of more straight stitches and made another pink flower. Now that was silk ribbon embroidery. Let's just use a regular one-strand embroidery floss and do some other things. Once again, the green embroidery out of the machine. Now a beautiful little peach bullion rosebud with three stems on it, and this shows another location for that same little tiny peach bullion. Another green pattern is right here. I'm going to do again something a little different. This one has little pearls stitched in every now and then there are some more bullion wrap flowers. Now the last idea is the green stems with the lazy daisy flowers in silk ribbon and then a French knot out of yellow to embellish the center of the silk ribbon. You know, the stitches, those little vines, those little green vines really are available on a lot of sewing machines. Now then, let me just share with you how easy it is. You just simply sew. I've already started this right back here for you. And we're going to just sew, and all I do is draw a straight line on my fabric, and then I just simply stitch. And then I have a beautiful green vine back there, absolutely just ready for some embellishment. And actually the machine's going to do all the work for me. So I just sew and sew and sew right down the middle, and now I have my green vines. As you can see, I have my green vines right here, and I'm going to do something that is very, very simple. I'm simply going to put some French knots. So I will bring my silk ribbon up through, I will wrap it one time, and I will go back, not exactly in the same hole I came up, and I will have a beautiful French knot. Now then, I'm going to go up, I'm going to skip up, do the same thing, pull the ribbon through, I'm going to wrap it one time, take it back almost in the same hole, pull it back through, and don't pull it too tightly. Sometimes I pull mine too tightly. Now, that's better. Okay, one more. As you can see, I'm moving up in the little pattern, and I will have just a little tiny touch of silk ribbon all the way up on my beautiful green leaves. And now I have another technique for you, sharing ideas about machine embroidery and hand embroidery in combination. As you know, we've been working with women's vests for our pattern for this series. This is one of my vests made just for this series, and this has a mock collar. It has a combination of machine embroidery with hand embroidered silk ribbon to embellish it. And I really like too the use of tatting and entredeaux around the collar. Now, how do you make that mock collar? Well, trace off your vest pattern. This is the vest front, and then come in and mark off your collar to be however big you want it to be. That is your collar pattern. Now, in order to make a silk ribbon embroidered collar, if I'm going to make kind of a white collar, this is done out of Swiss batiste. I'm going to have to do a lining for that, as well as an interfacing, because you cannot do silk ribbon embroidery just through Swiss batiste. So I have an interfacing, my collar, and my lining. Okay, step number one would be to put your stabilizer behind it and do your machine embroidery, the little green vines. Of course, then we're going to use silk ribbon to make silk ribbon by hand. Now, the next step is to put the interfacing behind it, because I've got the silk ribbon through something other than just batiste. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch the interfacing in, and then I do my silk ribbon embroidery, whatever I want to do. Then I go ahead and sew the lining into the collar and turn it and make it finished. Of course, that's all the steps put together in that one. My trim on the collar is going to be a row of entredeaux, zigzag, do not use blue thread, to a piece of tatting or other trim. And then after the collar is finished, remember this edge is completely finished, I'm going to lay the entredeaux on top and just zigzag it down in order to finish the collar, and then I will attach my collar to my vest. Next, we have a wonderful silk ribbon embroidery lesson for you. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today Beverly Sheldrick. Beverly is the author of a book on silk ribbon work called Colonial Inspirations, and she has traveled all the way from New Zealand to be with us today. Beverly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's lovely as always to be with you and with your viewers. Today, I would like to show your viewers how to do the little pansies that are on this little tape measure cape in this hussive. Now, we're also going to show you how to make that. So we just put that to one side, and first of all we'll do the pansies. Now you will see I've got a pair of rabbit's ears here, given it a pair of wings, and then two little falls at the bottom. There's also some little grey whiskers, and it's finished with a French knot. So here we have a completed one. So we'll first of all put in these two little rabbit's ears, just two straight stitches like this, just a little bit of angle on them, like that. You will see I've done them here. Then we're going to put in those wee wings. Now the wings are just a little bit shorter in length, but make them puff up, leaving just a small hole in the middle there, like this. So there we are, we've got those, and then we have this ready to put the falls coming down. These in length will be the same length as those top ones that we have there. Then, once we've got that done, we're going to take our grey and put in some whiskers coming up, and we will go either side across to here, and we will continue to do those across here, and across there. And then last but not least, we'll do a French knot, except I'm going to wrap it about 3 times. I know that's technically not a French knot, but we need something that's a little wider. And so there it is at the top there. It doesn't need that whisker, but we're not going to worry. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to show you how to do this little tape measure holder. Now, you're going to make 4 of these little circles. You will see that I'm doing this on some silk which has been fused again. We've got the 4 there. You're going to put a little bit of stitching there and there. And the reason for that is so we can then turn it like this, and we'll stitch around here. This is the opening. When you have turned it through, you have something. This will guide you to keeping a nice round. Now, once you've got those 4 rounds done, you've stitched them, you've now got 2. You've got a bottom which has nothing on it. You have a top which has a dragonfly. That is the base. You then have the second one where you've got the dragonfly underneath and the embroidery on top. You will also see that I have buttonhole stitched both of these on all sides, so you've had to do it 4 times, but there's a definite reason for that. Now, you will also see that there's no whipping there. So this is what we're going to do. I have taken another piece here, and I've got this piece here, and I'm going to work out how long I want this piece to be. Now here's a real bush way of doing it. Simply take your fabric around like that to there. You'll see I've marked where I've started, put a pin, and there is my distance. You'll also see I've allowed a seam allowance, so I will stitch across there and stitch across there. I will then fold it in half, and I'll fold it this way, turn it like this and like that. This will then be slip stitched together, and then, as you can see here, it's buttonholed both inside and out, both top and bottom. Now this all helps for the strength and the stability of this wee piece. Now, to help you get this even, you will see using the pins that I have actually divided them into 4 like that with my pins, and I've done the same with this piece. Now the wee dragonfly goes on the inside, and I'm just making sure that I've got the grain going across like that, and there's the seam at the back. So I'm now going to just put that together like this using my pins. Then when I come to whip the whole thing together, then it's evenly divided and saves me any worries about ending up with a great glitch at the end. So I will then take my thread, and I'm going to whip all 4 of those stitches together. Now you can appreciate that it is a wise idea to get an even rhythm with your blanket stitch, because then when you go to whip them all together, they fit very evenly. And so I will then whip all those round, going through all 4 stitches, and that forms our base. The top, you will see I have gone round again. I have whipped all the way round there. This then will be added to the back there, and with a few stitches, I will whip those 2 together so that I have a little hinge on the back like we have there. You will see I have made a buttonhole loop there. A button will go there, and there you have a wee box. It is then stitched onto this. What happens is you put it down on like this, and coming through from the back by hand, you will stab stitch around inside there, and it will sit just like that.
Oh, Beverly, that is so sweet. And now I have a home decorating project for you. This project is truly Victorian. It is a Victorian letter holder that I purchased in France. Now, the antique piece is really, really beautiful, and I especially love the silk. By the way, you hung it on the wall to put letters in, and this really is the function of this. Now then, the ribbon embroidery is really unusual on this bow. And by the way, it's made all by hand. The little bow, the little silk ribbon, is simply stitched down and then folded over, stitched down, folded over, tacked by hand, all around, simply kind of scrunched and pushed and pulled, and truly, truly magnificent. That would be something that you could do today also. Now, our reproduction of this letter holder, I think, is very beautiful. Views the same ideas, you know, scrunched down, pulled it over, even have a two-color ribbon here. But our ribbon, even the roses and the leaves and the stems and the little pearls were all done by machine. Don't tell anybody. Now, I put my hand in here and you can see that the letters go right in there, and this is backed with cardboard, this little piece in the front and the piece in the back. And you've heard me laugh about sewing on cardboard. Well, today we are going to sew on cardboard. Okay, now then, the first thing you do before you do the silk ribbon embroidery, and by the way, this is made out of silk du peony. It is lined with a piece of batting. Silk ribbon embroidery just needs something a little stiffer than silk du peony to work through, and this makes it nice and padded, the little front part too. So here is the first part of your front. Now then, we're going to do the silk ribbon embroidery. Okay, after the silk ribbon embroidery is completed, then it's time to line it. Okay, and it's already been cut out now. I put the lining on it. Of course, I'll have to clip the curves. Then, I'm going to turn it right side out. Lay it down. Of course, I'll have to clip the curves and fix it a little neater than that. And then I have the piece of cardboard to slip right in there so it would be good and stiff. The back is made exactly the same way, and by the way, these are the trims. This is the trim that goes around the edge, and this wonderful ribbon that truly is Victorian looking is your little handle. Now the back is made exactly the same way as the front, and what I'm really going to do is sew through cardboard, so needless to say, I will put my fabric on heavy. All right, I've used a zipper foot here, and I'm using a straight stitch. After I pin, it's hard for me to get pins out with my left hand, so if I seem a little awkward, just bear with me. Anyway, I'm going to stitch right along. I'm stitching right through cardboard. I'm using my zipper foot, and this is a straight stitch. I'm just stitching right along very slowly through the cardboard. And you know, this might be a place where you would want to use one of those needles that it's kind of too worn out to sew on your good fabrics, but it hasn't broken yet, because I don't think you'll want to use it again after sewing through cardboard. All you do is slip right along here and sew right along that edge, and really it's very easy to sew through cardboard. Just be sure you don't use that needle again. Now then, I'm going to pick the little original one back up to share with you once again. You see, I've stitched that down, what you've just seen me doing, and I'm going to, when you look at the back, you can see that it is either whipped down or stitched down or glued down. So you pull that to the back and finish it off that way. Next, I have a really interesting antique for you, an antique technique. It's called puffed lace. When I purchased this dress, I thought, you know, that's the first time I've ever seen puffed lace, so we're going to share it with you. This is a strip of fabric. Of course, the lace is on the other side too. Then this is a puffed lace strip. There's another little strip of fabric, a puffed lace strip, another strip of fabric, and on down the skirt all the way down to the bottom with this particular technique. Now, it's really very easy to do that technique, and I'm going to share with you just how. Most of you know already that French and English laces have gathering threads built into the heading of the lace. So when you just find that gathering thread and pull it, then the lace just gathers right on up. That's pretty convenient, isn't it, to have it already built into the lace. So I'm going to gather the lace pieces. Right here is one, and I have simply zigzagged it down, zigzag and zigzag, or you can use a wing needle entre deux on both sides. Then I'm going to come in behind and cut the fabric away. I've just sliced it down the middle, and then I'll trim it away. And that is perfectly all right to leave it just like that. Here it is after trimming it away. Now, if you want an extra stable lace finish, you can trim it and then fold it back and zigzag it, and then trim away the excess. That's a little bit of an extra stable lace finish. I don't usually use it, but it's perfectly acceptable to do so. Now, what if I want to attach this puffed lace to a beading such as this one, which has an entredot finish? I trim away the seam allowance of the beading. I simply butt the lace up to that, and with my little shish kebab stick, I hold it very carefully and just zigzag the two together. After that is done, this is what the strip would look like with the beading and the puffed lace in between. Now, won't you come along with me to my attic? This beautiful baby dress is the Swiss intricate panel christening dress. When I say intricate, I mean intricate. Beautiful, just a beautiful yoke here with diagonal puffing and Swiss insertion. Now first, I think I'll start with the sleeve. It has the Swiss insertion going at an angle and a little bit of puffing on either side, and then the little gathered Swiss edging on the bottom. Not only the sleeve, but also the sash tail is gorgeous. Get it right side out here. It has the same treatment on the ends of both sashes with the puffing and the Swiss insertion going at a really neat little angle. Now, the details on the dress are absolutely incredible. Look at all these tiny, tiny, tiny little tucks, folded tucks, one after the other, very close together. And then there is a panel of the Swiss insertion and the tiny little puffing, which, by the way, you can do on your gathering foot on your sewing machine if you have a gathering foot for your sewing machine. Here is another panel of these absolutely magnificently done little tiny tucks. And then here's another panel of the diagonal insertion and little puffing. And actually it goes all the way down to the bottom of the skirt, with the panel becoming wider at the bottom of the skirt with that same lovely treatment. Today, for my Sewing from the Heart, I have a letter from Tina Schumann of the Atlanta Smocking Arts Guild of America. Tina writes, last year the Atlanta Smocking Guild donated over 400 smocked preemie and we care gowns to send to several local hospitals. Into each of our gowns is a special label, smocked by the Atlanta Smocking Guild. To help finance this service project, the Atlanta Guild sells note cards featuring a beautiful design of a smock dress and bonnet surrounded by sewing implements. And they were kind enough to send along a copy of this little note card, which really is pretty. And certainly, and when you do a service project which involves fabric and lace and other beautiful things to make little gowns, or any other type of service project, goods have to be purchased. I think it's very interesting how creative the Atlanta Smocking Arts Guild was in making these really, really beautiful cards, and it has a little smocked bishop dress and a few little sewing implements. I just say well done to the Atlanta Smocking Arts Guild and to all of the other guilds, quilting guilds, American sewing guilds, smocking guilds around the country, that you ladies are taking your precious time and your resources, your money also, to make things for those less fortunate and for those people in the time of need. Thank you so much for joining me in my sewing room today. I've had a wonderful time, and I just look forward to your being here every week with me. Now, I'd like to issue a very special invitation to join me next time.